How are y'all?
We are doing great. Give me 1 second just to spotlight your video. Keeps moving on. All right. Well, thanks so much for taking some time to hop on with us this afternoon. We will go straight into questions for you, and we'll start with Ashley McCubbin. Go ahead, Ashley.
Hey Timmy, what are your thoughts going into the upcoming season?
Excitement is it's a nice way to describe it. Yeah, we have a lot going on, and I'm excited to be back attempting the 500 again. That's always a nice start. That's the biggest race of the year, and it's always an exciting one. And to not be locked in, it just adds a little more eagerness and for a driver, a time where you're looking forward to the opportunity to try and achieve some dreams. But on top of that, it's exciting to run a full season of trucks and have more opportunities in the Xfinity Xfinity and the Cup Series. And I'm looking forward to finally running for another season of points for the whole year again.
Touching upon your entry for the Daytona 500, we have the next gen car. A lot of people are saying that should close the gap between the front of the pack and the smaller teams. Your thoughts on that and what we've seen so far with the new car?
Yeah, I think you've seen a lot of the teams who haven't competed at a much higher level are doing much better now. And I think that's because teams aren't engineering their own parts and pieces. So we're all in the same playing field as far as what we're bolting on these race cars. So it's definitely going to close the field up. We still have plenty of work on our hands to make these cars faster and drive better and beat the competition. So it's never going to make the field exactly even, but it's definitely closed the gap. I'm looking forward to that. When we went down to Daytona for the test, we did really well in the draft. On the first day, we topped the boards on speed. So it just allows us to have an opportunity to compete at a much higher level than we ever had before. For me personally, I've always driven for much smaller teams, and those teams are essentially getting hand-me-downs from the larger teams, parts and pieces that those guys no longer want, and these guys are bolting it on as if it's a brand new piece. So things are definitely going to be much more equal. They'll never be equal, but definitely going to be closer. We still have our own work to be cut out for us to make our car faster and driving better. But looking forward to what this new car will bring for us.
Thank you for your time this morning.
Absolutely.
Next question will come from Stephen Toronto. Go ahead, Stephen.
Timmy, I wanted to ask you about running the full Truck Series season this year. You look at the Truck Series field, and there's a vacuum there to be filled because of GMS downsizing the way that they have. But at the same time, there's a lot of teams that are expanding from 1 to 2 trucks, or teams like yours that are going from part-time to full-time. What opportunity does that present for Hill Motorsports to take it from something that you and your brother have done part-time to a program that can contend for top tens, a playoff spot, maybe more?
Yeah, for us, it's we've had such a great start to our race team. The first 3 years have been really a dream. We have multiple top fives. My brother finished second in Talladega last year. Out of the 10 races I ran, we've got a few top tens, and I think our team has a lot of potential. The growth has been outstanding, and to make the jump this year to run a second truck, we had goals to run it full time on the second truck. We struggled to get body panels from 5 Star this off season, so ultimately we couldn't field a second truck full time just because we couldn't get parts. But with that being said, we have a nice part-time schedule built for the second operation. I think we'll learn from that and learn what it will take to get 2 trucks on the track full time next year. But with that being said, it allows me to focus on 1 truck for a full season of points. I think we have a lot of potential to be maybe a possible upset as far as being a small team trying to make the playoffs. I think we have that potential. And on top of that, allows me to be able to get on the track. We're going to stick my brother in the second truck a lot of these times, and it'll be fun to race him again. And we grew up racing each other in go-karts and legend cars and Bandolero cars, and it's going to be fun to race him on track as well. So this year, I'm excited to see what we can show off and what we can accomplish. And along with that, it's going to be fun to race my brother on track as well.
Nice. Thank you, Timmy.
Thank you.
Our next question will come from Tucker White. Go ahead, Tucker.
Timmy, as someone who's ran full season in the Cup Series in the past, you've experienced the grind from start to finish. So, in terms of like mental health and what personal relationships, what kind of a toll does that grind take on a driver like yourself?
Sure. One thing I tell people about, running a full season of NASCAR, especially 36 weeks, essentially it's a whole year. And what that does for us, it builds a family away from your family. So for me, I was thinking about when we had my wedding a few years ago with my wife, when I went to invite my friends were all people from the racetrack. I don't really have many friends outside of racing, just because we spend so much time involved in it. And with that being said, it could be a challenge. I just have I have a baby that's turning 1 year old here next week, and being away from your family is always a challenge, especially when you got a newborn. And so it's tough. It makes you really have to value your time back home with your family. You try to get those loved ones to come on the road with you as well, so they can kind of see you more often than not. This year, I'll probably be doing less Cup racing, probably less Xfinity racing. I'll be doing majority in the Truck Series. With that being said, I'll probably have more weekends back at the house to spend with my family, and that'll be nice. I enjoy my time on the road. I enjoy the relationships that I make with these people, but it's always nice to be able to come home and spend some quality time with your family as well.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Next question will come from Bob Pockris. Go ahead, Bob.
Yeah, to me, Noah Gragson was saying that with one car, he's going to have to navigate the duels in a way that maybe he didn't last year, where he could be just aggressive the whole time. I'm curious if you think is that the way all the open drivers are going to have to race the duels? And if you're trying to get in the Daytona 500, is it even possible to to race it that way?
Oh, it's funny because we always go down there with one car. So I've been in that boat. A new car, old car, doesn't really matter. But no, I think you really can't go into that way. And I'm sure Noah's approach will probably change by the time we get to the track. With that being said, that this race, it pays like no other. It's for a race team, especially like ours, and Noah's driving for the Beard family. Those people, they want that paycheck. They want to be in the big show. Their partners want to be on television. I think his mindset will probably change. We'll probably be the only 4 or 5 cars or 6 cars, however many extra cars that show up as an open team that will run at a much higher level than these other guys. I'm assuming all the other teams that are chartered teams and locked in, they'll want to protect their cars, but the fellows that and drivers that are not locked in, they're going to put more on the line. Definitely, for sure.
Next question will come from Justin Palmer. Go ahead, Justin.
Kind of a follow-up question to that. We know there are 5 open charters teams at the moment. One of them will be your teammate JJ Yeley. And just the possibility of what would happen, what do you think is going to go through your mind if you get into a situation where it's between you and Yeley, need to get yourselves into the 500, and what's going to be going through your mind at that time?
Yeah, that's gonna be a challenge. Ideally, it'd be nice that if one of us can lock in on speeds on qualifying day, and they can help the other driver out if they get put in the same duel. And there's a lot of scenarios that can happen. We could both be locked in different duels. We could both be out, not locked in, having to race our way in different duels, or we could both be out trying to race in the same duel. So we'll kind of see how that presents itself. The ideal situation would be to be in a situation where one of us is locked in, they can help the other driver. But if it gets to a point where we have to race each other and one of us is going to make it and one of us isn't, JJ, he's bringing in a sponsor that has a huge following, and they're expecting a lot out of him. And with us, we have Bumper.com joining our car, so we have 2 brand new sponsors coming into the sport, and they both want to make this race as best as possible. And I think either one of us, we're not going to lay down and say, hey, you're going to be the guy. And I think we're going to race each other, and I think our team owner Carl Long is going to expect that of both of us. Obviously he doesn't want us to wreck each other, but we're definitely going to race each other extremely hard.
Thank you.
We'll go back to Ashley McCubbin.
Speaking of the duels, and you mentioned how you guys are trying to race your way in for those, how do you handle the pressure in that and knowing that it's basically got to lock your way in that way or you're going to be sitting on the couch Sunday?
Yeah, with qualifying being Wednesday now, we have about a day to figure it out. So when qualifying happens, we're praying that that we have a good enough car, and we've done our homework to be able to lock our way in. And if that's not the case, then we have to determine, who's in our race, how hard that particular car is going to race, because, typically if you're locking your way into the Daytona 500, and with this car being as expensive and how parts are maybe not as available as they are, those guys may not race as hard as somebody who is not locked in. So at that point, you try to really scheme out your competition and what they're capable of and what they're willing to do. And sometimes you can use that to your advantage. If you got somebody who's really trying to protect their car and you've got essentially nothing to lose, and you can really push those guys to a point where they may not race you as hard.
Perfect. Thank you.
Absolutely.
All right, Timmy, thanks so much for joining us this afternoon, and best of luck next week.
Perfect. All right. Thank you.